is literally a world apart. In Silicon Valley, I would say the funding environment is really good there. If you're contrarian, if you're coming up with something new in Silicon Valley, it's not a negative thing. It is your moat. It is your special sauce, I would say. It elevates you as a founder. But if you pitch like investors here, you might probably get a lot of like nervousness. But like the hardware prowess here in Shenzhen, it's unbelievable how fast you can make hardware over here and make it reliable and find like the right expert. We built a little too much in Shenzhen actually. We built more than we needed to, and we spent way more resources and time trying to refine the product instead of like learning from what the Silicon founders do. The word I hear a lot is Cyberpunk. Our like office is quite near the DJI headquarters, and if you have seen the headquarters, you
Yeah.
how did they build that?
Yeah.
That is so futuristic.
Yeah. So Ryan, I guess you're full of dopamine right now, right?
Yep.
So we're in your home base in Macau, and you just started or finished, or you're in the middle of a hackathon.
We're in the middle of it right now.
Yeah, tell
Yeah.
us.
So we partnered up with Dr. Liu, and then he was like pitching me this big hackathon that he wants to do in Beyond Expo, and we're like, yeah, we've just done one in Shenzhen. We're gonna do one in San Francisco, and we were like, why not do one in Beyond Expo? So yeah, we partnered up, and we brought all our robots over here, the X robot, S1 arms, and then yeah, we set up the new open booth. It's a standardized environment where everybody can collect data, and then they can train the robots inside them with a very reliable way of getting automated robotics to do their task. And that's what we're doing right now. There's like 100 hackers right there, all trying to automate and do something with robotics.
And
And
that is
see.
only the second hackathon that you're doing. I
This is the
remember I
third
went
one.
to the one in Shenzhen the last time as well. It was much smaller than the one that you have right now. And you expect to have more guests coming tomorrow?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So this one is the third one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's been part of a world tour that we're going to call. Yeah.
World tour.
So we started in Shenzhen, and then the second one was in San Francisco. That was a few weeks ago. And
Wow.
then now we're here in Macau doing this one.
So for me as a non-nerd, explain me what is the goal of a hackathon?
The goal of a hackathon is a creative / technical competition where you have 2 days. You come with an idea. We provide the robot, and then you train your robot to do a task that is a pain point for you or something that you want the robot to do that's creative, that's never been done before. And then at the end of it, you demo it to a panel of judges. And then for Beyond Expo, the top 3 teams will be brought to the main stage in stage 1, and they will present it in front of everyone, their demo, and then we'll see who's the top 3.
So for example, what pain points do the people have?
So some of them are like, I want a automated way to make my coffee. So they train the robot, put the coffee cup in there, and then with their coffee beans or some like instant coffee as well. And then they do the stirring and then pouring, and then they get a finished coffee at the end of it. And because it's every episode that they train, so every time they train the robot to do a certain action, it's an episode. When they collect enough episodes of that, they can train their AI model to make it an automated task. So that is that's how they present.
How
they
do the robots look like? When we think about robots, everybody is probably thinking about humanoids, but it's not, right? It's not a humanoid that these guys are training there, right?
Yeah, so we have like 2 lines of products there. One is the half humanoid robot that's based on the IKEA trolley, and then we put robot arms on top of it,
Oh,
like a
okay.
Frankenstein way of a humanoid robot. It makes it really accessible to get started in humanoids. And the other one is just robot arms. So it's a kind of like an industrial robot arm, but like a miniature version of it. It's on the desk. It's clamped onto there, and then we add cameras onto the arm as well as an external camera, and then that is what is able to do these tasks.
So you provide the robots, and then you like, how many of those robots do you have right now here?
Oh, we brought 20 over.
Oh, okay.
So it's your own robots, or
Yeah, so in MakerMods, we create accessible open source robots.
so MakerMods is your company?
Yes. Yeah, I'm the CEO and founder of MakerMods. And yeah, Ever since I left my old job of being a school mentor of teaching robotics, I was thinking of a way to like make what I did as a robotics mentor scalable. And the best way to do it is to launch a robotics company and take all the stuff that I've learned being a robotics mentor and implement it as a product that people can buy and learn robotics and build it with them.
And when was the first time you were interested in robotics? Because you told us you already did a underwater robot or something like this.
Yeah, so back in 2016 was when I was still in high school, and I founded the team along with a few of my friends as a high school robotics team tackling underwater robotics competitions. So that's where I got I became a robotics kid. Yeah.
So where did it come from? From your school? Did they support you, or from your parents?
Yeah, it was from the school. So there was a mentor, Mr. Andy, and then yeah, he came up with the idea of like, let's join a robotics competition, and he was like, are there anyone who wants to form a robotics team? And I was the first one to like sign up for it, and then that's where it all started.
And it was here in Macau, or
Yes, it was here in Macau. Yeah.
and when was that?
It was so 2016 in like my school, my alma mater, Macau Anglican College, MAC.
That's super interesting, and I'm always thinking if this is a Asian thing or a Macau thing, maybe because maybe I was in the wrong school, but we didn't have to do anything with robotics. We didn't even talk about robotics.
No
I mean, we had
idea.
like physics at school, but that's maybe the closest we came to robots.
Yeah, so in Macau, ever since I think like 2016 or so, 2015, they pushed really hard on like robotics education. And then it was, looking back at it, quite easy for schools to apply for grants and establish like a robotics lab and a robotics team in every school in Macau. So the support that we got from the government was quite strong back then.
Why do you think there's this huge difference between Europe and Asia? Have you been to Europe before?
Yes, I've been to Europe,
Okay.
but yeah, I wouldn't know too much about the education system there. But I think like there's a lot of like pressure over here for a school to stand out. Like why should a parent send their kid to this school instead of another school? And like one of the best ways to stand out is can my kid like create a robot? Can they win robotics competitions? And then show that there's like a way to learn hands-on skills building robots and also write code for these competitions. Yeah.
But again, this is like a regular school. Like every school has this in Macau, or is this you went to a technical kind of?
I think at this point in Macau, every school has a robotics program.
Really?
And yeah, because of like during before COVID, they put quite a lot of resources into like and grants for these schools to apply for it. We were able to like build really strong programs. Like, and then it's not just like our school, like schools across Macau, they would be like world champions in like this area of robotics. Our school was like the world champions in underwater robotics. Yeah, literally a high school beating universities in the US and around the world, and like Hong Kong universities in underwater robotics. We were on top of the world.
I think most of the people who would think of Macau always think about casinos and fun and
actually we're sitting in a casino right now.
Yeah. But nobody would imagine that these schools are pushing robotics so hard. It's an interesting fact.
And it's not just that. The teachers, the mentors, they are super passionate. I was one of these mentors because like you just see like once we bring robotics to a school, the kids they tell me that they have purpose now. Like I come to school, it's not just for the classes, but I can represent my team, my region, my country, and then they can like go heads on with these other teams around the world and like compete out there, and then do something awesome with a passionate group of people building robots and winning competitions.
Very cool. So you, besides the hackathons, you also go to schools regularly to with your robots to teach the students or the
So one thing after like leaving my job as a robotics mentor, I thought like, like I see the students that like that I've taught before, I was like, maybe I won't ever get the chance to like do this anymore. But no, like ever since I created this company, instead I've reached out to more schools, brought this the robots that we were building, extra robot to like more people who have never touched robotics before, and then
Mm.
this is their first entryway into robotics. So I feel like, yeah, I've been able to make it more accessible, and more people have been involved in physical AI than before.
So after you graduated from your school and you went to university, and then you were an instructor or a teacher for robotics.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, I have never studied engineering.
Okay.
My undergraduate was in nursing.
Oh, really?
Yes, I'm a nurse.
So there's hope for me to also become a robotics company founder. You don't have to be an engineer.
I actually think that robotics should be at the point where if I'm in medical school, or if I am a researcher in biology or in biochemistry or stuff like that, and I want some physical tasks to be automated, I don't think you need a big team of like robotics technicians to set up everything for you to automate this. My belief is that, and why we're building MakerMods is we want to be the robotics company that can automate personal physical tasks.
Mm.
That's what we're trying to do.
Hands on, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it makes sense. The same happened with software, right? So I have no technical background at all. I'm very bad at math and physics and all the stems. But now I use cloud code to help me to automate tasks on my computer, right? And this, I never had to do anything with it, and it works. So you are bringing this to the hardware world, right?
Yes, so like all these innovations that has been done for the software side, I don't see a reason why it couldn't be done for the hardware as well. It takes a lot of work to implement it, both like on the hardware side, it needs to be modular, it needs to be standardized. Okay, that's why we make the open booth as well, so that the training data sets could be like standardized across them all. But once we do enough of the engineering work and the design work to make sure that things could be standardized and make sense in a way where people can mod it, and then also on the software side, the software layer, where agents can use it, and also it's really intuitive for people to get started with instead of like needing a strong technical background. And then with enough data also, because the robots need to know how the real world works. With these elements aligned, yeah, I think hardware could be like easy as software.
The interesting thing is I was talking to a friend from Portugal right now, and the topic of this year's Beyond is physical AI, right? So to bring AI into the physical world. And he said the interesting thing is that nobody in Europe talks about it yet. So I think that in many, many aspects, Asia is quite far ahead. What do you think? Or maybe it's not just Asia and the US, right? But in Europe is somewhere in between and looking left and right. What's happening there?
Oh, like hold up a bit for like my European friends. So we work with Qualia Studios,
Mhm.
and then they're also a European physical AI startup. They're more on the software side, so like providing a robot training platform. And also there's like Tinker, who we work with as well. They're based in London. They are like the GitHub for robotics. So there is a like a robotics scene in Europe. Is it as like as competitive, or as like is it
Visible. I think it's more
Yeah.
visible here. Yeah.
it's definitely way more visible here in China as well as in Silicon Valley. Like, if you are on Twitter, or like if you're looking at the space right now in physical AI, it seems like every other day there's like a new robot launch, or like something new happening in physical AI. In Europe, you might not hear as much as that, but yeah, there's a lot of innovation in Europe as well.
Mentioning Twitter, I just saw a quite viral Twitter post. Your new product is a robot arm, right?
Yes.
So what do your products, your robots look like? They're no humanoids, right?
Yeah. So we, other than Robot, which is like a maker style project for a humanoid, we haven't launched, let's say, a very human looking like robot yet. Instead of like trying to shoot for the moon and to make something that is like that's gonna work like 5 years later or stuff like that, we want to make something that works now,
Mm-hmm.
and then people can deploy it and then get value out of it right now. So yeah, for us, I think the most common sense right now is because many people have already learned our stack to like use our accessible robot arms, and they're now graduating to use something more industrial, something more powerful that can lift more. So that's why we launched this 3 kilogram payload industrial arm that still uses the same easy to use stack for our accessible ARM, but now has way more performance. So that's what we're launching.
So you're making money already with these products?
Yeah, we're profitable right now.
Okay.
As a small startup, in order to achieve profitability in such a small time, especially with hardware,
Yeah.
yeah, we've pulled off this, and like kudos to the team.
So do you have funding?
Yeah, so we're funded by Founders Inc. We're very
Okay.
proud to say that. Yeah, we're happy to be one of the portfolio companies there, and yeah, Founders Inc. is amazing. Yeah.
So how did this all start? Like, how did you get in touch with Founders Inc?
Wow, like, so we started this company like back in like May last year. When is it today?
Yeah.
It was literally a year ago.
a year ago.
Literally
wow,
a year
okay.
ago. A year ago, I was in my bedroom in Macau, just building robots, trying to come up with like what I should do after leaving my career teaching robotics. And now I was like, the best thing, the best place to build a robot. It's definitely not in my bedroom in Macau.
Mhm.
Got to go to somewhere that is like you can access all kinds of hardware you need. So I told Isaac, fly back here. Let's move to Shenzhen and let's
So
build
Isaac
it.
is your co-founder who was in the US at that time.
Yes, he was still studying in BU,
Mhm.
Boston University.
Yeah.
So we moved to exactly a year ago. We moved to Shenzhen with not knowing a single person in Shenzhen, and we were like, we're gonna build our demo here. We're gonna build something that works. In 2 months' time, we built a demo. We were in InnoX. So
yeah.
have you seen the InnoX booth over here?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are
yeah,
good.
we're good
We had
friends.
some founders from InnoX on this podcast,
Oh, okay.
and we've been to InnoX a couple of times.
Yeah, it's a magnificent place they got there.
Yeah.
We built our demo inside InnoX. We were incubating in there for a period of time, and then after a while, we were like, okay, the demo works. We've got something that is we think it is like good enough to show investors. And then we were watching a lot of YC videos as well as like startup podcasts, and we were like, maybe we got it now. We have a demo that works. We have a pitch. Maybe it's time to fly to San Francisco. So we took on a one-way flight to San Francisco, not knowing a single person in California, and we're like, we're gonna pitch to investors, and maybe someone would like back us and fund us on this idea. So, yeah, that's how we made it to Silicon Valley.
So what is the whole business model around your business, basically?
So, are you talking about it like when we got funded or like now? Because now we're way clear on what we're doing. But when
Yeah,
we're looking-
just
take
walk
us
us
through the
through,
journey.
yeah.
yeah.
Walk us through the
Okay,
journey.
so like the thing about Silicon Valley of like, oh, just go up to investors with like an idea and pitch to them, and then you're gonna get funded. Almost works. So we didn't have like just an idea and like nothing but like a pitch deck. So we had a working demo, but like at the time we had no traction. We haven't like gotten a single customer yet. We have like LOIs from customers of like saying that when you build this, we want this.
Mhm.
But like, yeah.
What
we-
was this at that time?
Yeah, what is your customer?
so
also?
in the beginning when we started MakerMods, we were like, there's ChatGPT at that time it was 3.5, 4.0. Can we get it to work with robots? So that
Mhm.
was our like, question. And we're like, in order to get this to work, we need a few things. Like the model needs to understand how to interact with hardware. So we need to write that software layer for it. And then on the other hand, we want to make it standardized. So we thought of the idea of like making every single robotics component into a USB-C component. So instead of like using wires or like soldering, stuff like that, if we get them all to work with USB-C and we can like daisy chain all together, we can make like a robotic system that anyone can build with. And then, you can build any sort of robots you want with just USB-C cables and our modules. That was our idea when we began MakerMods. And then we somehow got that to work with like a basic agent that we built with at that time, Google ADK. That's what my co-founder Isaac was able to do. And then it was kind of reliable. So we thought that that was ready. So we flew over to US with that idea.
And then
And then we made it to Founders Inc. So
So
Um,
what was the business model at that time was?
the business model at the time was like, we thought that we could just sell to schools
Uh-huh.
and then sell to makers, kind of like the way how 3D printers got started.
Yeah.
So when 3D printers got started, it wasn't like a is when 3D printers got started, it wasn't like Bamboo Studios
Yeah.
right now, right?
Yeah,
Right now,
Bamboo
Bamboo,
Labs.
yeah, people would like just go and buy a 3D printer.
Yeah.
Back then, you had to like buy your own components and then figure out what to do, and then a company called Prusa came out. Have you heard of?
No.
So Prusa was the one who made like 3D printers really accessible
Uh-huh.
back then in like 2017, 2018 or so. And then, so yeah, we wanted to learn that model of like bringing robotics from like open source projects into like a more mature platform. So our business model was like learn from Prusa,
Mhm.
make it open source, have a community built around it, and then eventually sell to schools, universities, and research labs. That was what we thought would work. And then we got LOI signed by these like potential potential customers, and then we brought them to different investors.
So how did this business model change to now?
So right now, in order to like make sure that for robotics, data is very important because it's not just you go out there, you build a robot, you share that, oh, we have this fancy new robot, people can use it now. It's not that simple, right? You need people to develop models on top of it. You need robotics data to like that's specific to your embodiment, and then also like a developer community that's willing to use it. So right now, instead of like just trying to toss another robotics platform out there and hope that people use, we start with frontier models. So we don't build the frontier models. We don't have the funding or capability to do that. But instead, we partner very well with some of the frontier labs out there that are building these new robotics foundational models. And instead of like we give in hardware and then force like other people to adopt it, it's more like what do these frontier labs? What are they building? What is the next breakthrough for physical AI? They get to dictate what the future of physical AI is, not us. So why should we dictate the hardware? We should listen to their feedback and like what they can bring to robotics. Well, also like people who deploy robots, so like factories or like people who are building robots at home, like what their pain points are or what they're trying to get the robots to do, and then connect the frontier labs, the customers who deploy robots, and of course the supply chain like that we have, especially we know well in China, and then form that together to build a good user experience robotics platform. So that is what we're trying to do. So start with frontier labs, get them to adopt our robotics platform, collect data with it, and then sell to customers who deploy robots. That is the business model that we're working with right now.
So you started a year ago. Where do you want to be in a year, in the next 12 months?
In the next 12 months, we want to be the platform where everybody, when they're trying to develop a new robot, they will think of MakerMods. So yeah, to get there, it won't be easy because we need like robots that are reliable, good performance, and also in an accessible price. But at the same time, it's like we need to work well with the developer community, get them to adopt it by addressing their pain points of like how hard it is to build robotics. Like everybody talks about robotics as if like it is it's the next big thing. Like it's just gonna be like software or like it's gonna be like just some next breakthrough is gonna happen and then it's gonna be widely adopted. No, like it takes a lot of engineering effort on like every single way, all the way from like the actuators to them to like the robot design form, even like cables can like trip you up on like different areas. So like we here in MakerMods, we think through everything like in a stack, not just a software stack but also on the hardware stack, so that the experience of like using a robot won't be like won't be just frustrating, because like for us, we've built robots before and we know how frustrating it is when things don't work.
So you don't think that robotics will be the next big thing?
We do think robotics will be the next big thing, but the steps to get there, uh, other than like
Much slower, right?
It won't be like this is the ChatGPT moment, or is it?
yeah, I don't think there will be like one big like moment.
Mm.
It's a gradual step, and it's a slow march forward that requires like a lot of fine tuning in like many
Yeah.
minute areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were mentioning that you're working with all these research labs to use the data or the models that they are creating, right? Everybody's now trying to build this general model for robots, right? So, what do you think? How long this might take?
Oh, like I think this is like the $1 billion, if not $1 trillion question of like
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't think if I made a prediction out there, it's gonna be like it's gonna land. I think it could be like 5 or 10 years away. Yeah, but more importantly, like, and I really don't think too much about like this question. It's because like if I as a founder, if I have like a very um confident answer for this, that means I would need to build my company
Mm.
based on this assumption, and I think that's a very risky thing. But for us right now, we're a bit more practical in a way. Like we see where robotics is right now, what it can do, what the models can do, and we do everything possible we can do to maximize the value that robots can do right now. Okay, so that instead of like hoping for a future where like 3 years later our robot could do X, or it could be like could achieve AGI. No, we think about what the robots can do now and what our customers can do now. For students, they can win competitions, they can learn robotics, and they can become the next roboticists. For university labs, they can make breakthroughs in research because like we made robots much easier to do, so they have more uptime in like using the robots. And for these frontier labs, yeah, they can have um, a, a, a robot platform that they can trust to build their foundational models on. And then for the customers that are deploying right now in factories, like they can deliver value to their customers, and then the factories run smoothly with our robots.
Very cool. So you mentioned that one of the hardest part, or the hardest part, is basically the data part, right? Because we don't, for the LLMs it was clear, like you can go on the internet, you have a lot of resources, but for um, robots you don't really have the data, right? So how does it really like look like on a hackathon? Like where do they get, like how do they train the robots, or how did, like what is even possible in 4 days with the models that you're using and the robots that you have?
Because it's a hackathon, like they have to like make sure that they have to do a task that is within the time that is available. Um, yeah, so instead of like training definitely no one is training a foundational model
Sure.
during a hackathon, right? But they would do like fine tuning, so post training after. So they would use like existing models out there, like for those who are using, yeah, we're very grateful that NVIDIA is supporting this hackathon. Yes, so for those who are using Jetson 4 out there, they could use bigger models like Pi Zero, Groot N1. And then for those who are using Jetson Thor, no, sorry, Jetson Nano, they could use simpler models like small VOA or like ACT on it to like achieve pretty good reliable results on it. So simple tasks like folding clothes. Okay, I wouldn't say folding clothes is a simple task, but like in this tight space, yeah, it is a task that they could like easily repeat and collect data of. And then also pouring coffee, like simple tasks like that. Yeah, they can collect. I've seen the lowest that a team can do is like 20 episodes of tasks, so like 20 repeated training data, and that's enough to get like a pretty reliable results.
Oh, cool. So what was the task that the winner did the last time?
Oh, so last time, it was pretty interesting. So they did chess.
Chess?
Chess.
Oh yeah,
So-
I saw it in the video, right?
Yeah.
This was
So the team was like, we brought a chessboard over here, and then they were just playing with their friends while waiting for the hackathon to begin. And then when they had to come up with an idea for the hackathon, they were like, "These guys are playing chess already. Why don't we just like make the robot arm play chess with other people. So that was their idea. It was pretty hard. Like they came up with a lot of different ways to do it. Yeah, in the team in San Francisco, and then they had like a team just doing simulation, a team just doing the manipulation side, and then an agent to play chess. So yeah, they coordinated really well. They got it working like the very last hour of the hackathon, but it was pretty impressive, their demo.
How
So
do you do it with the robotics arm? So does it have cameras?
Yeah.
Or so
So-
it can see the chessboard, the arm.
yeah. So for that, they had like multiple camera angles, and then yeah,
Oh wow.
How old are the participants?
one of them was 18 years old, so like freshman in like mechanical engineering.
Oh,
But,
okay.
yeah.
But usually in the range of the people that participate in the hackathon,
It's big. Yeah, some of them might be like veterans. We even had like an NVIDIA engineer join in as in the San Francisco hackathon, right? And then some of them might be. We had an 11-year-old prodigy. Yeah,
What?
yeah, and then he was the team leader in the team.
What?
Yeah, doing all the coding, coming out with the task, and then also like doing the training episodes. Like, yeah, there's some really cracked people in physical AI and in Silicon Valley.
So you moved from Macau to Shenzhen, and now you travel between Shenzhen and Silicon Valley, right?
Yes.
So how is the ecosystem different, or how is life different in Shenzhen and Silicon Valley?
Oh, it's literally a world apart. In Silicon Valley, I would say like the funding environment is really good there.
Funding is much better than in China, right?
I would use the word environment. It's not. I wouldn't say like there isn't money in China. Like if you're building a great physical AI company in China, you can raise money here. That's not a problem. But over there, if you're contrarian, if you're coming up with something new in Silicon Valley, it's not a negative thing. It might like in the right investors, it is your moat. It is your special sauce, I would say. It elevates you as a founder. But if you pitch like investors here, you might probably get a lot of like nervousness.
So Chinese investors are more conservative?
I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah. But over here, like if it's something that's known, like building a humanoid that can run fast, that could like do somersault stuff like that, yeah, you will have probably a lot more success doing it here. Yeah. So the creativity part in Silicon Valley, I think that is where it shines. But like the hardware prowess here in Shenzhen, yeah, it's unbelievable how fast you can make hardware over here and make it reliable and find like the right expert to make sure that like FOC on your motors could be calibrated really well. What else? If you have something going wrong with your electronics board, you can find something really cracked to like point exactly where you got it wrong over here. In Silicon Valley, it will be much harder to find someone.
So the creativity part is really interesting. Do you think it also has something to do with the school system? I don't know how different the school system is, mainland and Macau. But in mainland, we know that there's a lot of learning by heart, repeating, and not that much creativity. For example, from my English class in Germany, it was like, write a text about your holiday or write a text about your weekend, and there was no 标准答案. There was like no fixed answer. But here in China, when I see the kids of my neighbors, they do their English, it's all they have to learn it by heart and then repeat exactly what the teacher said. So this doesn't foster creativity, right? Do you think this is also part of the problem or part of why in Silicon Valley there's more creativity than in China?
Yeah, I would say that is one big aspect of it. The other is also the culture as well. Yeah. So in Silicon Valley, if you come up with a crazy idea, if you come up with a very way out there idea and you present it to people, I think the first reaction you get isn't a no. It's be like, it would be more of a question of like, how are you going to get there? Or that's an inspiring goal. And then the next follow-up question would be everybody tries to think with you on how to get there. Yeah, that is something that I see like it's pretty magical about that place. People are very willing to help you on your outlandish goal. Yeah. even they might think like deep down, if you ask them like after talking to you, it's like, do you think that this founder who wants to create this wild idea, is he going to succeed? They're probably saying no. But like in the conversation with the founder that is coming up with this outlandish goal, people are very open to like develop the idea instead of shooting it down.
Yeah. And do you bring founders from Shenzhen, from San Francisco to Shenzhen?
All the time. Yeah. So when I set up a office here in Shenzhen, I was like, make it small. Like no one will come. Like, yeah, we're just gonna develop our own robots here. We don't need that much space. And then 10 different founders from San Francisco came over and be like, oh, can I come to your office? Can I see what you guys do? And we had like no space for them. Like we had to like ask one of our employees, like, oh, do you want to take like a coffee break or
holiday.
whatever? Yeah. And then so that this founder can sit down over here and have a chat. Yeah. So we had to find like a bigger office. But like it was pretty surprising like how many founders were like, hey Ryan, can I come over to like your place and like take a look? I want to learn more about the supply chain here in Shenzhen. I want to see like where the robots are made, essentially. So that's what really surprised me.
And for most of them, it's the first time to come to China, I
Yep.
guess, right? So what is their impression?
The word I hear a lot is cyberpunk. So yeah, they couldn't like expect that what is essentially in the cyberpunk movies could be already in real life. Our like office is quite near the DJI headquarters, and if you have seen the headquarters, you'll be like, how did they build that? That is so futuristic.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
That's the impression that they get.
And how do you feel every time you go to Silicon Valley? How different is the atmosphere there? Because I think in Shenzhen, every time I go to Shenzhen, I feel it's just like one goal: work and make money. This is what people do there. They just everything is very efficient. They go to McDonald's for lunch because it's fast and it's cheap, and they work the whole day. Is it different in Silicon Valley? Do they do more networking, more other stuff than just working?
The lesson that we actually learned, and like this is the part that I normally won't share, is like we built a little too much in Shenzhen actually. Like,
what does it mean?
We built more than we needed to, and we spent way more resources and time trying to refine the product instead of like learning from what the Silicon founders do. And I don't say it in a bad way, like they're trying to like sell something that doesn't exist, but instead, being in Silicon Valley, everybody's trying to build the next big thing. Right? It's not like a better power bank or like a better hair dryer or something small. People are trying to create something that's like all new, yes, or like build a generational company, build a great company. And then in order to match that bar, people would like envision a future that is like very far out there, and as well as they're very good at like narrowing down at like which aspect of that vision we can do right now, and we can sell and create value out of it. So we had to learn it that way of like this recent trip of going back to San Francisco and looking at how our friends in the same batch in Founders Inc. and see how they were able to close customers, build a strong vision, build a team around it, and then raise funding. Yeah, we realized that how far we are as entrepreneurs compared to them. Like we could build a good robot, we could build like a reliable robot, a good product, but then like in a sense of way, like not a lot of people know about us. We haven't shared what we're doing. We haven't made a good launch. And then by doing the hackathon there, by talking to more people and see how these founders operate at such a high level, and then finally we did like the recent launch recently, then we're able to, okay, this is how to operate in Silicon Valley. This is how to make your company known in a way, and then create enough buzz and momentum around your company so that you can launch yourselves.
So you need the buzz, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is something that companies, I think, here need to learn from what these founders are able to do in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, this is something that you also see in the valuation of the companies, right? They are always better in storytelling, basically.
Yeah, Elon Musk
in the US.
So it's a controversial thing. like
Mhm.
valuations, right? The people who bet on something would see valuation is a bet, right? If you get it right, then you look at genius of like getting in early and having the right valuation. And then for those who are bearish on a company, be like, what? This company that has only this product is valued this much. But the impressive thing about like founders I know that can justify the valuation is they're able to grow into it.
Mm.
That's all it is. A valuation is a bet by an investor,
Yeah.
and then if you can raise the next round after it, that means the bet paid off,
Yeah.
right? Storytelling is a really important aspect of it, as you said, but then it's the what differentiate a good founder versus someone who just creates a story and then doesn't live through it is they can deliver on that storytelling. So it's not
Mm.
it's not fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was just referring to, like Unitree, they had this valuation of 7 billion or something for the IPO, right? Um, but I would believe and like argue that this valuation, taking Unitree as the company as it is right now to the US, the valuation would be much higher.
There's a lot that companies in the US they can commercialize out of, and it's not of something just like the product itself might be one thing, but then the like values. Biggest company in hardware is Apple, right? And they're not in robotics. They haven't done anything in like automobiles or stuff like that. But when you look at their product, right, they can justify their ask price, and not just their value, but their form and their function as well. So, yeah, companies might, let's say Unitree or any other robotics company in China, you can say that they might have like a valuation cut because they're not a US company, etc. But at the same time, it's like instead of like me speculating on their valuation, like the question to myself as a robotics founder would be like, if I'm creating a robotics company, how do I make sure that it generates value and also is perceived in a way where it is a valuable company? That is what it matters to me.
So if you have foreign founders coming to Shenzhen, what is the entrance point to if they don't know anyone, right? You came there from Macau to Shenzhen, but I mean you speak Chinese and you know how to meet people. So how if someone from San Francisco wants to go there, build a robot, where do they start?
Oh, the answer I usually tell a founder like that meets me is come find us.
Yeah, go to your office, right?
Yeah. Like the best place instead of like finding a middleman who wants to make money off you or like
Mm. The best or the worst?
the worst middleman.
The worst.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Some middlemen are really good. Like they
Yeah.
are very transparent. They let you know exactly what the ecosystem is. Like
Yeah.
there's some like really good, like we call them super connectors here
Mm.
in Shenzhen, right? And then yeah, they could introduce you to the right people. But yeah, another thing is you can reach out to the founders.
Yeah.
If there are founders here who are building companies that rely on the supply chain over here, and then they know the market in and out. Yeah, a company like us, we would know like exactly which suppliers to talk to, which to avoid, and then yeah. So instead of like coming here as a tourist, I would go to Huajiang Bay and look at like
Yeah.
fancy electronics and think that that's Shenzhen. No, like there's a lot more that you can see, and my recommendation to like each founder who finds me and that comes to Shenzhen because they're building something different, right? It's different. So we will tell them like if you're building a robotics company, we will introduce you to the partners that we work with. But then if you're building somewhere in like wearables, tech like that, then there are other founders that we would introduce them to before they find their partners.
Yeah, we started approaching this industry 6 months ago, and we also found out like you have to know one person in Shenzhen who has one connection, and then you're in this network in this circle like immediately because everyone is so generous in sharing there. Like, I mean, there are also businesses who do this, and that's a good thing. But everyone is so generous with sharing their contacts, sharing their network, right?
Yeah, this is the good thing about China in general, I
Yeah.
believe. Like they have a great sharing culture, and it's not like, oh, I just keep my contacts for myself. It's more like, okay, are you coming here? What are you trying to do? And I'll help you. This is something that I figured is super cool and brings a lot of energy to the country.
Yeah, so that's what I experienced myself as being a founder here. And then there's no better way to do it than to pay it forward and help any other founder that is like in this path. And another thing is like it comes back full circle. So I thought like, okay, I'm gonna share this founder to like this supplier I know, and then there's nothing to do after that. But no, like they know that I've provided this value to them. They would try to help me in the future of like trying to find me clients or like try to find me better suppliers or like some aspects. So it becomes like a full circle of like we help others and help others helping us in this ecosystem.
Very cool.
Very cool. So you still have to go to the robots to the hackathon, right?
Yeah, so we have like 10 more teams that are coming in tomorrow. They are
Okay.
all middle school students.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, this might be their first time interacting with robotics or physical AI. So we have to set up everything to make sure that they
Okay.
have a good day in hacking robots tomorrow.
So how many hours of sleep will you get this night? What do you think?
Hopefully, barely enough so that I have enough energy tomorrow to
Okay.
host them.
So we will not use your time anymore. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you
here.
so much.
Thank you
It
for
was
having
super
me.
interesting,
Yeah.
and then talk to you in a year and see where you are then.
Yeah, we have a lot in the product roadmap.
Yeah.
We have a lot coming out. So yeah, if you check us out on like our website, MakerMods.ai, you will see a lot more stuff coming out soon.
Great. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you
so
for having
much.
me.